It's Thursday. It is week 2 of the NFL. We are the sports affiliation. This is Sub Homeslice. I'm Evan, and of course, as always, with me, the one and only Iggy at IDP_Iggy. What's up, Homeslice?
Hey, how's it going, dude? How you guys living today? How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's Thursday. We got some football. The NFL is a full week underway. We're on Thursday talking pizza and football, so where else would I rather be, man?
Absolutely, bro. I'm right here to be stoked to be with you guys. Thank you guys for listening too, man. Before we get too much into it, let me go ahead and share the screen. Because we do like to review how we did. Big thing we're about over here, just tracking your bets. You can call it being accountable, whatever you want to say. But this is what we're about, and so I'm gonna try to bring it up for us. Let's see. Make it a little bigger, Evan. Let me see here. Put it at 150.
Bigger is better. There we go.
There we go. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bets that we discussed either via the show last week or that was up on the sportsaffiliation.com. We'll get it up over there as well. We're still navigating some of the issues with we're troubleshooting with the website, but it will be there even if we just have to put it under the football tab instead of the betting tab. And as you can see, Evan, we went 5 out of 10. Pretty standard betting, code there. You do this long enough, you're going to find out if you're good, but you're at 50 to 55%. If you're better than 55%, you're borderline genius. That's just how it is. If you can sustain that. But overall, we had 8.9 units bet. You see that, Evan, right there, so everybody else can see it. We won 11.25 units total. You subtract that from this, you get 2.35 units. So, hey, you're always going to take 2.35 units. If we can sustain that through 18 weeks of the regular season, we're going to have well over 40 units gained, Evan. That's kind of always my goal. So what are your thoughts about that before we go forward, seeing the 50-50 split and, just a quick recap on some of your bets?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, 50-50 is not bad, right? And thankfully the units, the way they worked out for what we placed, right? We had the 2-leg teaser there was a nice profit. The parlay with Jacobs and Barkley, obviously those kind of carried the week for us. And, you look at, sometimes it's easy, man. Justice Hill was, 2 catches on the first drive, right? And Pacheco was 2 catches and dropped a third one right in his hands. And, that's just the way it goes, right? So I like the looks. I mean, Javonte Williams was a disappointment, good matchup. Denver running backs. I knew we thought they'd be scary, but one takeaway from that is I want really nothing to do with that backfield anymore at all, right? It just does not look good for that offense at all. Week 1 overreactions, but we were already worried, and I think that it might be time to already jump off the Javonte bus. We'll see. Hopefully he gets some work. He has some good matchups. Maybe we'll ride him again. But other than that, man, I like everything we had going on there, and it was a good week, plus 2.35. Our dough started down here, and it's rising a little bit. That's what we want.
Yeah, we're going to get into more of these bets. You see, we got some more, add some more to it as we go. But I do want to say, if you're tuning in for Kevin and Chris, they will join us at another time. They said just had some things pop up. No worries there. Evan and I prepared. We're going to get back to it. How'd your fantasy teams do overall last week 1? And what's up, Sam Wise? Thank you for popping in. What's up, Daniel? What's up, Pete?
Overall, they did all right, but, it was disappointing in some areas, right? I mean, DK Metcalf is a big guy for me across the board. He was kind of a no-show. I didn't expect a lot from a guy like Calvin Ridley, but he finds his home in a lot of my flex spots. It was not a good week for, Tennessee's, well, at all, really. I mean, they could have won the game if Levis just handed the ball off.
Should have.
Yeah, right. I mean,
did you see where the coach said we should have punted it on 1st and 10? I've never seen a coach say that. We should have punted it on 1st and 10. We probably would have won the game.
They were running the ball fine, too. I don't know what they were doing, man. I mean, Zamir White, very disappointing. So there were some, guys like that. But, I mean, Derek Carr was a nice bright spot on in FF7s, right? Waited till like round 10 to take a quarterback and went with Derek Carr, and it worked out week 1, So I think I have like on all my leagues, I was probably about 50-50 down the board, but I definitely will stay patient, right? Like I think that, you draft these guys for a reason. Like I don't jump off of my draft takes too much after one game. I got to see a few games before I give into that. Like I hope Ridley will thrive in those matchups. I expect DK to be a top guy. And we'll see, right? Like I talked about with Javonte. Is Javonte and Zamir, like, are they just toast? There's my son right there, SoCal Jr. Are those guys toast? Like, we'll see. It could have just been 1 week, right? And things change. But, it was a good feel-out week. I still like the squads. Cooper Kupp across the board was phenomenal. Like taking him everywhere over Puka, even before the injury, but obviously with the injury. So it was a good week, man. I still like where we're headed, even on the weeks that even on the leagues that didn't get the W.
All right, man. Well, yeah, and I just feel like everything gets a little blown out of proportion. People want everything to be all this or all that. Look, there's going to be people that panic drop people this week, and there's going to be players scooped up in week 1 that are going to be good the rest of the season. Okay. It's just that's how the complexity of NFL is. There's just not a one answer for every player kind of situation. So, you're going to drop players that do well. 1 year I thought I was cursed. I was like, hold on to players, drop them, they go off, have 2 or 3 great weeks, and then, do the same thing with another player and they go off. It's just, you're going to have those seasons if you play fantasy football long enough. That's just how it is. Any fantasy sport. You're supposed to have players that do well. They don't. You drop them. Or you trade somebody for something and then they just start going off, And, that's just the randomness that is fantasy football. But once again, our betting back at it, plus 2.35, and let's just get right to it.
The pizza boy, look at it go, make it dance.
So do you have your stuffed crust smash on the board so I can pull it up for people?
I do have a stuffed crust smash on the board. I believe I put it on there. Let's go down to this week.
Is it one of your props right there?
Yeah, give me Brian Robinson over 51.5 rushing yards, man, minus 115. I think, last week he only had 40 yards on the ground, but that was against the Tampa run defense. That's pretty solid. And it was a negative game script all game long, right? Washington is favored in this matchup. I think they should win. I don't trust them the way they looked, even though the Giants are terrible. But this Giants defense is awful, right? We saw Aaron Jones run all over them. I like Aaron Jones this year, especially in those good matchups. But I just think that they stick to Brian Robinson. And even if they aren't necessarily ahead in this game, I think we're seeing a neutral game script or a positive game script. And that favors Brian Robinson here. I think it's a super low number for a Giants run defense that is just not very good. So I like the way he looked last week against Tampa. Like I said, they were getting blown out early. And it was a lot of Jaden Daniels dropping back and then taking off, right? Which I think he won't need to do as much of that against the Giants. I still think he's going to run, right? As a rookie quarterback, it's part of his game. But I don't think he's going to need to do that. And especially if they're in a close game or ahead, which is what it looks like it'll be based on what we see, that minus 2.5 spread for Washington. So give me Brian Robinson, man, over 51.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, Brian Robinson, everybody, not Bijan Robinson. Don't be confused with that. NFC East matchup at negative 115 over there on DK. Let's get right to it. I'll say my stuffed crust smash. But Mel has a question from here. If you guys have any questions, if you're watching on the X, I'm trying to moderate on our X as well. This is on, my X. I'm supposed to be on the sports affiliation X, but it's not working on there. Let's try to pull up Evans. We're going to get this on Evans as well. So let me see here, but just get your questions in. That's my point. And then you'll be able to get them uploaded like Mel here. Cause Mel's got a pretty good question, my friend. And it's, what do we do with CMC? Starting him, I think you got to have him in your flex spot regardless, first off. And then after that, you can kind of try to have another plan for Sunday. Let's take a look real quick. I should know this off the top of my head. Feel like they play in an afternoon game, but they may be in an early morning slot because they're on the road or they at home.
They're at Minnesota, but I believe it is
Minnesota, 11 o'clock slot here in the Mountain Time Zone. So, we'll know early. That's a good thing, Mel. Like, you should know at least an hour before that game. And everybody else out there with CMC, you should know about it, an hour before the game. How we found out Monday night, and you didn't have Mason, and you out of luck, But I think that's what you have to do, Mel, in that situation. Just take a look at, have a backup plan, have him in your flex. If they say he can't go, then you can just put somebody else right there in that flex situation. What do you think about that?
I'm preparing for CMC to not play if I have him. Like, I'm ready to. I just think that they're going to Minnesota. They're a heavy favorite. I know he said he could have played last week if it was a playoff type game, but there's like zero reason for this Niners team that looked like they were firing on postseason cylinders in week one, right? They played a really solid game. And then Jordan Mason on top of that, it's not like he played poorly and you're like, oh, okay. No, like there's like zero reason for the Niners to rush CMC back, right? So I think I'm preparing for him not to be in my lineup, but I'm definitely leaving him in there till I get the news and just be ready to shift that. But if you have any other questions, please drop them in, or guys that didn't play well last week that you're wondering about maybe sitting this week, drop them in. We'll let you know what we think. So I think there's plenty of guys that are going to bounce back this week. Don't drop them. Don't bench them. Got to ride that wave, man.
Yeah, I agree. That's just how we'll be looking at it. All right, back to the Stuffed Crust Mash. I am going to put mine up as well, and it is up here on our board. It is my Indianapolis -3. Let me put up the screen. That would help everybody. Right there, -3. I went ahead and telling everybody to put 4 units on it. I'm not telling everybody to do this all the time. I don't know how there's any expectation that Malik Willis is going to be able to sustain 2, 4 or 5 scoring drives. I don't know that he's got that in him against an okay defense. I think the Colts have, they have playmakers at all 3 levels of their defense, which is, in part of my opinion, a good defense. You can name them all: Kenny Moore, Zaire Franklin, EJ Speed, DeForest Buckner, Kwity Paye. They just have studs at all levels of their defense. So it's going to be difficult, I think, for Green Bay to move that. And the line's actually moved in favor. I'm going to pull that up right now for everybody to see, Evan. But right after this commercial, because I went and tested it with our new Better Takes app, and it said it was a little over 50% good bet taking the spread for the Colts. So let's take a look at what that means.
Find your win tuition and elevate your sports betting with Better Takes. Better Takes examines your betting history to uncover hidden areas that cause bankroll leaks. Uncover patterns and biases so you can break the cycle of mistakes, avoid weaknesses, and play into your strengths. Our advanced stats offer unparalleled granularity, helping you immediately spot problem areas that could be affecting your success. Use the Better Takes Edge Score to gauge your expertise for each potential bet, providing clarity and confidence in your decisions. Take control of your betting journey. Download Better Takes from the Apple App Store or Google Play today and start understanding your biases for free. Before placing bets, check with Better Takes, a smarter, more informed approach to sports betting.
There you have it, man. Better Takes. Download the app today. So you heard Iggy mention that edge score of a little over 50. It's just like we talked about hitting bets, right? 50%, 60%. So what Better Takes does that you saw there is it takes your play. This is a -3 for Iggy. It takes any bets he's made that are similar to this type of look, and it tells him how much success he's had there. Is this something that he's actually done well in when he takes a team that's -3? What happens, right? Because we think our bets are good. We like it. But then what does our success rate really look like? So it takes that edge score. Any bet he's ever placed at -3, it's going to show you. So you could see 30 or 40, and you're kind of like, well, maybe I don't want to place it. But you're seeing 50, 55, close to 60. You're like, I really have success here. So obviously what I see, because we're taking the analytics, we're taking our research. There's a reason we like the bet. But you see it right there, right over 50 on the edge score. And this does it for every bet that you place. So it would do the same thing when I plug in Brian Robinson or I plug in Jerome Ford. It takes those same type of plays, and it's going to give us an edge score, right? So check it out. Download the app. If you're placing bets, put them in there just to see what your success rate is on these bets, because we all kind of tend to Iggy loves his tackle props, right? I love my running back reception props. Those are two of probably our heaviest placed bets. So if we see that edge score over 50, that really tells us that the angles, the analysis that we're taking, there's something to be said. And if it's lower, then maybe there's something we're missing in that analysis. Although it looks good, we might be missing something in that angle. So brand new, check it out. It's really cool. Any questions, let us know, man. We're here to help as well.
Yeah, and one thing real quick before we get back to the Colts, I just wanted to pull up the screen actually while we're talking. It's at -3 on DraftKings right now. It's moved all the way down to -105. I don't know, and I love the -3. Don't have a hook. Worst case scenario, I think this is a push. I don't see how it can be, much different, even though it is at Lambeau. Like, I get it. That defense isn't that outstanding to stop a great running back. I mean, I still have, awake nightmares of Colin Kaepernick running through our defense, and it's just, and even Michael Vick had a pretty good playoff game. So, and I know that's going back. That's not the 2024 Packers, but I'm just saying the 2024 Packers rush defense wasn't outstanding last week either.
Hey, Jordan Love said he wants to play, man. I mean, maybe there's something to that. I can't see how he would play, but the fact that number's moved is a little interesting. And, I guess the narrative of backup quarterback takes over. Teams sometimes overperform. And I agree with that to an extent. But if you've ever watched Malik Willis play football, you mentioned it, Iggy, the 4 or 5 drives. Even if these guys can get open, that array of receivers Green Bay has, can Willis get them the ball consistently? I'm a little surprised that Clifford is not getting the start, to be honest. He knows the system better. He's been there. I'm a little surprised on that. But I'm right there with you, man. But it's interesting that number has actually, gone in favor the other way.
Yeah, in dynasty leagues that we both took over orphan teams. I went and got Sam, and I had him on my taxi squad forever. But then they moved him down to the practice squad, and I don't understand why not promote him. You played him in the preseason. He's going to have a familiarity with the wide receivers, but that's why we just make our bucks betting, and we're not the coaches. But bring it back to it. If you haven't downloaded Better Takes, obviously go get it, man. I'm using it for my bets. It's really fun to keep. Have an extra point of data reference as a bettor. I explained this to Evan a couple of times. For me, betting is, it's a lot like science to me, and I just apply my lessons I've learned in science to betting, and I would never, discount good, concrete, or as they say in academia, imperial data, right? You got imperial data right here based exclusively off of your history of bets. Take advantage of it. Go get Better Takes. You won't regret it. Back to it, man. You know what time it is. We're getting into the second third of the show, so that means we got to get to this.
Cold pizza Tuesday.
It's a cool beat. Kind of reminds me of Mac Miller sometimes, man. Rest in peace, R.I.P. to the legend, so to speak. But extra saucy. We're getting into the colder months. Football's here. Even though we're about to play an 80-degree night game down in Miami tonight. I'm talking Jim Kelly. I'm talking Dan Marino. If you watched any of those two legends go back, who were members of what they called the quarterback club. I thought you would think this era now would be better with quarterbacks. But I think John Elway, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, Troy Aikman, and Brett Favre, all of them being in the NFL at the same time. Boy, is that going to be hard to top. But you know what? Those guys could get sacked easy, most of them. And some of them took some pretty big hits. Oh, Steve Young was in there too. I knew I was forgetting one. Warren Moon. There was a couple. That era was just such good with quarterbacks. But to bring us back here, let me pull back up the screen, Evan, because I do have a bet that's not on our screen, and we will add it right here live with the audience. Let's take a look at it, all right? I'm going to be navigating, so let me know if I get a little out of hand here. It is on tonight's game, Buffalo at Miami. You did hear me say Jim Kelly, Dan Marino. Comment if you remember either one of those greats. Surprisingly, neither one of them won a Super Bowl. Isn't that nuts when you say that out loud? It's just crazy to think of, huh, Evan? But I do have one. We're going defensive props, of course, Evan. You know me. But you're going to love the odds on this one. This is almost an Evan special right here. Looking at sacks, man, Greg Rousseau was the leading point scorer in the Kings Classic. I'm wearing the shirt today. IDP experts. Glad to be a member there. The scoring set forth by Gary Davenport. Greg Rousseau is had the most points in that league. All right, he had a heck of a week. I don't know if Tua. I didn't go back and look at the data. I went back and looked at some of the snaps from last week. He doesn't hold the ball that long outside of like that big bomb to Tyreek. It was a lot of still quick throws and a lot of looking Waddle underneath. And, they got a backup running back situation kind of going on tonight. So we'll see how that goes. But I think they're going to game plan to get the ball out quick, run the ball than more people are expecting. And I think it's going to backfire against the Bills, who also have Von Miller as a pass rusher. So you scroll down all the way past all this bloating to get suckered into, and it's Buffalo Bills to record a sack tonight. It's at plus 600 on the no. All right, they don't have the greatest pass rushers. AJ Espinosa, and then we talked about Miller, and we talked about Rousseau. That's it, really. Ed Oliver, I think he's a fantastic football player, but he doesn't get that many sacks. And, Miami, they're still pretty invested into taking care of Tua. They know the spotlight's still on him. They got quick receivers that are great with the ball in their hands, after the catch. So I went ahead and actually put down a full unit on that for plus 600 for the Bills to not record a sack. How do you think about that sauce, Evan? Is that saucy enough for you right over there, my man?
Hey, that is like sauce dripping out the side of the pizza right there. That is some degenerate style betting, and I'm here for it, my man. I love it, man. I mean, 2-2, not a mobile guy, but you mentioned he gets the ball out of his hands quick, and I think you're going to see a lot of that today. I think that they're going to try to expose, that slot area of the field that the Bills have been weak in, not just this season, but last year as well. No Teron Johnson tonight, which plays into some of the things I think this game's going to have unfold for Miami offensively. So it makes sense, right? And we talk about making it make sense. And like Tua gets the ball out of his hands quickly. They're going to run those type of plays. I think the Bills have also, this plays into some of the plays, they've done a good job overall on keeping Tyreek in check, whatever that means, right? He's the best receiver possibly in the NFL, but he hasn't had a 100-yard game against the Bills in his career. So letting that play develop, I think they don't want to get beat by Tyreek. So give them the underneath, which means there's that quick route. So I see a lot of reason to take that. I mean, and at plus 600, man, I like that as a nice look there. So no issues with it over here.
Here it is for you up on our board. To not record a sack, you lay one unit, you get 7 back. I mean, nothing not to like about that one. 6-unit gain. I said Miller's old. Rousseau had a good game. I think they're going to run the ball out. I really do. I think they're going to try to catch people off guard. And, something else we didn't mention is Jordan Poyer's down in Miami. And, yeah, he was a defender, but you don't think he has some secrets of that offense being on, on that defense of the Bills, after playing how many years there? 6 or 7 under Sean McDermott's wing. I think he's going to have a few secrets that can help that offense, this week. Say what you want. That's just me. Do you have a sauces boss bet, or are we rolling with that one tonight?
I'll give you one more if you want a touchdown scorer tonight, right? Not quite as juicy or saucy as plus 600, but give me Dalton Kincaid to score a touchdown tonight.
I'm on it, bro. I'm on it.
You actually, I played this, Iggy, and I didn't comment it, but in our group chat, you mentioned him as a guy, and I was like, I'll save it for the show. Because Dalton Kincaid, listen, man, I know he had a terrible week 1. Everybody is on, Josh Allen, James Cook, even Keon Coleman's a big one. And I understand all those. But not a lot on Dalton Kincaid. Miami was a team that was exposed by tight ends. I don't know what Jacksonville was doing last week with Evan Ingram. Guy had 140 targets last year, and they don't even use him. But I just think that talking about, the slot against Miami is available, and that's kind of Shakir and even Kincaid. And I just think that he's going to be a little bit more involved tonight when they're down in the red zone. Does that hand with Josh Allen stop him from running a little bit? Probably not, because the dude is absolutely crazy. And it's great. You love to see the way he plays football, right? He'll jump over the goal line with a broken hand, I believe. But I just think everybody's off Kincaid after 1 week. So plus 195. Give me a unit, man, on Dalton Kincaid to get in the end zone tonight.
Yeah, here it is right here, just so people can see it too. Anytime touchdown score. I did place it. There is a small money back on the anytime touchdown score. I guess the no sweat, if you will, bonus on DraftKings if you do place that as well. So But I'm pretty confident that he's going to, I think he's going to score the touchdown tonight. I think he's still a big target down there. Arizona basically was double or triple teaming him when I looked at some of those stats. They weren't going to let him, get a big play on him and run through their secondary. So they made a top priority stopping him. We'll see if the Dolphins do that. Like I said, Jordan Poyer, that's a tilter. We'll see how that works, okay? So Dalton Kincaid anytime, plus 195, and the Bills do not record a sack is at plus 600. Pretty good saucy stuff there, man. I do love that. How can you not love that? You know what I'm saying?
That's some good sauce right there. Hey, there's a couple questions, Iggy, in the chat if you want to address those real quick. We got an IDP question and we got a offensive question as well in there.
Let's get the Likely question up first. Let's let you answer that one, my man.
So does Likely get more routes at tight end instead of Mark Andrews, or will he play more in the wide receiver slot? I mean, I talked about this the other day. Like, Mark Andrews is still Mark Andrews. And you just kind of mentioned with Dalton Kincaid, he had a bad week. Like, I can't see Mark Andrews disappearing from this offense. Personally, I think it might hurt Zay Flowers a little bit more. I just think that they're not going to go away from Mark Andrews. But I think what we saw from Likely, like, I don't see us getting that the rest of the season. I understand going out and spending the fab on him, but you don't get the points he got last week. And I just think that was a little more of an anomaly. But listen, they don't have any other pass catchers outside of those three guys. I've been waiting for Rashad Bateman for 3 years to do something. That's clearly not ever really going to happen. And Likely is just super athletic. I mean, you can put him out there playing a little bit of wide receiver. So I think you see the Ravens throughout the year mix him up. I still think Andrews is top 5 value. They're going to find a way to use him. Lamar and him have been so good together when Andrews is on the field. I just don't see that going away. So I just think you see a little bit more spread out, and I think it might hurt Zay a little bit more than it hurts Andrews, in my opinion.
Okay, so let's see what we got here. Is Darrell Taylor, defensive lineman, linebacker for the Bears, legit? Or do you think what he did week 1 is more of a one-off? He was a hot ad. We'll have to see. The Bears really had a rallying call with their defense against what I still consider a growing quarterback. They have a bigger test on them this week with Houston. We'll see what they can do with that. I think CJ Stroud will be the answer to that. But, there's just so many more playmakers on that Bears defensive side of the ball. I think it's going to be difficult to be consistent week in, week out. So
he took all of Edmonds' points in week 1, man. I don't see Edmonds only giving us 6 points every week. I like what Taylor did too, just to piggyback on that. But I think it might be a little more spread around. But, hey, if you have a spot for him and you're not dropping somebody, that is going to be consistent, then, you got to go snag guys that are giving us some production. But, Iggy, you talk about an IDP not chasing those numbers, right?
Yeah, man. It's somebody's going to be really tackle dependent. We'll see. If they're big play dependent, it's hard to get that consistency week in, week out. What's up, Joshua? Thanks for joining in. Mel says, did you have an earthquake this morning, SoCal?
If we did, I didn't feel it. I never feel them. I can sleep through any. Once I'm asleep, man, I'm out. So we've had some big ones where people talk about it, and I'm like, I did not feel it. So, no, I didn't feel it at all.
That's a Padres cap right now?
That's right, baby. We in that stretch run right here in the MLB. Shout out Padres. We ready to go take a World Series for the first time ever.
We'll see what happens, man. Padres and Homeslice. We will have some baseball episodes coming up. Scott Pianowski up of Yahoo Fantasy Sports, living legend, man, will be with us during the championship series. So we will return to baseball, but pretty much keeping it football right now. Had some basketball conversations going on in the Hoops chat room. I do appreciate that room. And keep in mind, we will be bringing you basketball props, bets, everything. We're pretty much full coverage year-round with Joshua. Thank you for doing that. Make sure you check out his shows on Sunday. He also has articles on thesportsaffiliation.com. Simply just go type that in. There's new shows. This show's actually live on the website right now. If you go there and check it out, you can go see JR's articles. You can see Evan's articles. I believe you have a betting article and an NFC North and NFC East is your latest article, right? Your predictions before we had on there. And then Tip's talking about kick returners. I've been playing with kick return points in fantasy football for 15 years. It's kind of difficult for me not to imagine getting kick return yards, but it's kind of becoming a hot buzz, especially if you're playing in Scott Fishbowl. So go check it out. He has some names that you want to go take a look at. That could be and more likely still available in your leagues. So go check that out as well. Yeah, Evan, do you want to build this pizza parlay real quick, or do you want to build a DFS lineup? Which one do you want to do?
Let's go with the pizza parlay.
All right, let me bring it up then. Here we go. I'll clear out everything. I'm going to leave one thing on there. We'll leave Dalton Kincaid anytime touchdown, all right? For right now, are you going to bring up any of these bets right here, sir?
Yeah, I'll bring up one of those ones. Let's go with, man, I like all of them, of course, right? Or I wouldn't place them, but all bets sound good. Who's ever placed a bet they didn't like? Iggy, come on.
Yeah, I know. Talk about it.
Yeah, give me Jerome Ford, man. It's actually earlier today, it was down to 16.5 on DK, I saw. So surprisingly, it dropped a yard, but I took it at 17.5. I doubled down on 16.5 because I just think Jerome Ford is he's going to be a big part of this offense, man. Like you saw last week, I know it was garbage time, and I don't really look at that Cowboy matchup, but I look at this Jaguars team that last year was one of the best matchups for running backs, right? They gave up the most receptions in the league. They were in the top 4 of giving up yards to running backs. And we saw week 1, right? We saw A-Chain just have, 6 or 7 catches in that game. I think Jerome Ford's heavily involved. His reception line, it's at plus money, but the books have him at 3.5. So even if he's under that, 3 catches, even if he's under that line and he hits 3, he needs 6 catches, 6 yards per catch against a team that was one of the worst against this position last year. And week 1, for me, didn't change that, right? You saw A-Chain heavily targeted. I don't see why Deshaun Watson, who looks like he can't get the ball downfield. I know it was the Cowboys defense, the Jags, probably not as good. I do think Amari Cooper has a much better bounce back game, but throughout the course of the game, they're going to need to dump it off. The Browns have 2 offensive linemen that are still questionable. They might go, but even if they do, they're not 100%, which means the Jags probably get in there. So Watson, dump it off. I think Ford over 17.5, man, is I won't call it a smash because we went there, but I think it deserves a spot on the pie.
All right, I love it, man. And then the next one we're going to go add at least one more leg right here. I'm just going to add it live right here. Pittsburgh Steelers at Denver Broncos. Justin Fields expected to start that game, so keep him in your lineup. Broncos home opener, man. 5-2-8-0. You know all about that from the NBA world, my friends. But it applies to football, maybe even more so on the second week of the NFL when teams aren't ready. I was really gung-ho about the Steelers. I'm starting to tilt more and more towards the Broncos. But let's look at tackles, my friend. Do they not have them up? They don't. They took them down. They just have the sack procs up. So let's go elsewhere then. We'll go look at something else. I got something else we can do. Let's go take a look at what did they have? Oh, yeah, here it is, the Chargers. Oh, wait, that's week 3. I don't want that one. How do you feel about your Chargers this week against Carolina, going across the country, playing the worst team?
I mean, historically, it's the kind of game where I feel like the Chargers could kind of be in like a little letdown spot, but I don't see it with Coach Harbaugh, man. I think Carolina was really bad. They're going to just ground and pound. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow this game is under that 6. Like, I wouldn't take the Chargers -6 on the road. But I think that you're going to see a heavy dose of Gus, a heavy dose of JK. That defense should be able to get in on Carolina. And on defense, they just lost Derek Brown. Like, they already gave up 180 yards on the ground. Like, I think it's a Gus Edwards game too. Like, I'm not saying JK doesn't have a good week, but I think especially if the Chargers do get up, like, they don't want to keep rushing JK either, right? He is coming off that injury. I think it's a heavy dose of Gus in this matchup, who did outcarry, JK in the first game, 12-10. So they should win this game. There's zero reason that Carolina should win this football game, Iggy.
Well, yeah, J.K. Dobbins has the highest rushing line at 55.5, but I did take Justin Herbert over 207.5 yards. I mean, Justin Herbert over 207.5. I mean, there's some great wide receivers still in that game. I think there's great receiving options in that game. And I just think he's got to get over 207.5. I remember seeing that earlier this week. I was like, 207.5 from an NFL quarterback? I was like, he's got to do that, I mean, even if they get super far ahead, I think that he's going to get over that. So that's our third leg. Do you want to add another one? You want to call it at 3? Right now it's at plus 931.
We can call it at 3, man. You know, like I said, I have Gus in that game as well. I mean, I took it at over 44.5. You know, but I like it. I think we're good. Three toppings, 3 plays. That's how we roll on a pizza parlay. So we'll leave it at that, man. Nothing wrong with plus 931.
Yeah, and we'll probably put, what do you want to do, half a unit on this, quarter unit on this, because we're doubling down on Kincaid. What do you think?
Yeah, we'll go a quarter unit on it, doubling down on Kincaid.
All right, I'll get that in. I'll load it into our betting chart. We'll get that loaded up onto the website as well. What's up, Mace? Thanks for hopping in, man, real quick. Thank for all of you for hopping in. We're always thankful for our guest over here. We start lockers tonight. Yeah, if you're not familiar with what Mel's talking about, is we have every Thursday. When you think of Thursday, just think of the sports affiliation, right? TNT, because we're here. We're right here. It starts with Evan and I, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Eastern on the Pacific time. We're out here with our Hawaiian pizza and things, stuff like that. And it goes right to Thursday check down at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then immediately after that, we go right into the watch party for the Thursday night football games all throughout the season. You can come right here, watch with us. It'll be a lot of fun. We talk about the game, we talk about their fantasy, and we do some live betting. We just, who knows? Sometimes we talk about movies. Sometimes we just talk about, the news of the day, all kinds of stuff like that. So come hang out with us. Evan, any parting words?
We just got one more question in there if we want to touch that. John, we got anyone playing the line on Raiders, Ravens. I believe it's minus 9.5 Baltimore. You have any thoughts on that game, Iggy? I got one, but I'll let you go.
I looked at the spread. I'm in Mel's Pick'em. It's where we pick the spreads of every team every week. 8.5. I gotta think they got that covered. It's just Gardner Minshew's really unpredictable, man. And I don't know what the Raiders are. I don't know who they are. I need a better game from Jacoby Myers, and I need a great game from Lamar Jackson. So that's what I'll be rooting for. Hey, look, Herbert's just went down 206.5, so we can get off this hook. It's still at plus 931, same odds.
Hey, there you go. We'll take it. Yeah, I mean, I think the Ravens, coming off a loss, and they have a long week, and it's John Harbaugh, who also a phenomenal coach, right? What a duo of brothers in the coaching tree. But I think the Ravens should cover this, but I'm not going to touch it. I mean, I think Max Crosby, he's not facing Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, who looked really good. This Ravens O-line, we saw what Chris Jones and the Chiefs did, so I think the Raiders pass rush could have some success. And it just, to me, has a nasty Gardner Minshew backdoor cover on it, bro. Like, I wouldn't be confident either way, but, right, Minshew in garbage time finding a way to get it, down to 8, down to 7 in a game where they aren't having any chance at winning. So I'm staying away from that, but I think Baltimore has no problem winning that game. If I'm in a survivor pool, Baltimore is a great pick.
Yeah, Baltimore. I forgot who I took with my pick. Wasn't Baltimore this year. I think I kind of took a small gamble, but we'll get to that later. Do appreciate y'all joining us, man. We'll hear every Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Like I said, Thursday checkdown coming up, and then the live Thursday watch party. Come out, hang out with us. We do betting. We're going to have the locker going. I believe the prize pool's over $400. So hop in. It's exclusive to us in the sports affiliation, not the app, but just our contest. You can hop in and be with us. And it's going to be a lot of fun for everybody that entered. Thank you. All right, Evan, let's get out of here, and we'll see you next week. Good luck. Bet smart. Be lucky.